Testing, 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Since you live streaming.
I was hungry, so I left and got a pizza. Let me see if I messed it up because it went sideways. Oh. The whole pizza went sideways, guys.
What's popping? JaDubbandjonjontv. This is our first smoke breed.
Yeah, the whole pizza slid. Now I gotta slide it back into place. Damn.
Oh, you like that seafood pizza, huh?
Yeah, it's delicious. Damn, the cheese clumped out. It's gonna be messy, but fuck it. Crab meat. And
we still haven't even promoted one of these. We still haven't even promoted none of our live streams. This is our 3rd live stream.
Oh, hold up, I'm a mess right now. Hold up.
We did good on our last 2. If everybody's been watching, we got some good views. Hit double digits, so that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
Last night was wild for me though. Shorty played games. I mean, I can't be doing that, man. Fuck my whole night up. I could have had something nice with me.
All right. Oh.
Yep. And my vape died.
What, the battery?
Yeah, that'd be the thing too. When you let these bitches follow you, you gotta be okay with what they be posting.
Yeah, you gotta start walking around with the vape, plug it up, and then have the power pack. You're like, damn, he's serious about that, baby. He don't play. That shit's standing there. That's dead. She had a fucking power pack. That shit would look crazy. It was like this wide. That thing. I said, babe, what are you powering the house? You carry that around? She said, yeah. I said, yo. I said, that's way too big, baby. You gotta get the new ones that look like a phone. Some small shit. He's growing.
Now after a slow drive,
it was like big buds like that, but they were thick like that, but it was a big one.
Yeah.
My mother came in the kitchen. She said, "See, I grow for you." I was like, "Thank you, mama."
That's lit.
And water when dry. I don't know. What do you think?
Heck yeah, cause I tell her mama can make money every month.
I grew ocean fruit and apple fritter, and I think I did it the easiest way possible. Using living soil, slow release dry amendments, and worm castings as the core nutrients. Other than watering, whenever the pots were dry to the touch, the microbes and all the beautiful biology in the soil, well, did all the heavy lifting. As the plants got bigger and larger, I transplanted them into larger containers along the way. Now, the goal was to grow them big enough to fill 3 tents, each one larger than the last.
Yeah.
But in general, they are smaller tents. Now, I didn't want to spend.
See, everyone's doing the LED lights, so that shit works.
Plants to fill the space faster, but with only 6 plants across all 3 tents, trading became the strategy. Lollipop, defoliation, super cropping, and a trusted trellis net or 2 help shape the needing canopy and maximize light penetration.
Since I told my homeboy he has a good idea, his web trellis
After 4
thing.
weeks of the bloom cycle, smack dab in the middle of flower, I top dressed with more worm castings and 284 power bloom. Worked it into the soil and went back to the easiest part, watering, only when the pots felt light. Waterings from start to finish for this run were always between 6 and 7 pH.
Then we gotta put some more clips to there.
Because this is slow release
Don't forget to throw your dummy cone in there.
Runoff or worrying about a traditional flush. I simply stopped feeding, kept watering, and let nature finish the job.
Turn my monitor on.
Once each tent had faded and the trichomes were right where I wanted them, It was finally time to harvest. With this much flour coming down all at once, there was simply too much to fit in the VQ. So, thankfully, I can rely on the old trusty dry room. Hey, I get it, it's not the fanciest setup, but year after year, it has proven to get the job done. Now, after a slow dry and more hand trimming, and I would like to admit, everything.
I had a crazy night last night.
And ready.
Then you see on?
Honestly,
Come and just go with the old white boy.
Feed the soil, trust the biology.
I was overheated then.
Water wind drought. I don't know what
Hey!
you think.
Whenever I turned the fuck around, saw her, like, oh, you know, I turned to what?
So recently, I grew the antiglue.
She looked at me, she jumped off that bike.
But that shit goes to be type disrespectful almost.
It is
bro.
like, yo, we over here, Timothy, you're the one that said, you come with me tonight, I take you to room. That's what she said.
Other than water,
As you take me to room, she said, I take you. I said, okay.
Microbes and all the beautiful biology in the
Now we
soil,
chilling here, we
well,
rattle
did all the
here.
heavy lifting.
I turn my back, this is something goes up, I turn my back, you go jumping on the bike. Whoa, you didn't say bye or nothing, like that was just straight nuts.
Now the goal was
And I
to grow the
hit her that,
fill,
then she
three
back.
tents, each one
No,
larger than the
I ain't
last.
room. I only get ride home from him, that's it.
But in general, they are smaller tents. Now, I didn't want to spend forever in veg. Looking back, could have used more
One,
plants to
you're not
fill
my
the
girl,
space
so
faster,
I don't care,
only
but
6
the
plants
only thing I
across
care is
all
just
tents.
still respect me as a
Training
person.
became the
Well,
strategy. Lollipop. Defoliation.
Yeah. Getting good numbers. Now I just gotta keep with them. With the numbers, bro. Fuck.
warp drive could break time.
And no lie, boy should have more than 116
We may never
followers
navigate the
on
universe by
Instagram.
building
That's
a
my
faster
fault.
rocket.
I honestly don't be
The
telling
real
nobody to follow
solution
me.
may be to stop crossing the distance
Now on,
between stars
you got to
and
follow
make
the
that distance
JaDubbandjonjontv.
move around us. Einstein's equations contain a geometry that could carry a spacecraft faster than light could complete the same journey, without the spacecraft locally breaking the speed of light. Stay to the end, because warp drive appears to solve the greatest barrier to the stars. But its deepest limit is not energy. It is the possibility that reaching another star could also create a route into the past. Proxima Centauri is about 4.25 light-years away. At Voyager 1's speed of approximately 38,000 miles, or 61,000 kilometers per hour, crossing a comparable distance would require tens of thousands of years. Future propulsion could move far faster, but ordinary engines cannot remove relativity's limit. Matter cannot be locally accelerated through the speed of light, approximately 186,000 miles, or 300,000 kilometers per second. In 1994, physicist Miguel Alcubierre found a possible loophole. Instead of pushing a spacecraft through space faster than light, his geometry would contract space-time ahead of the ship and expand it behind. The spacecraft would remain inside a region called a warp bubble. Locally, the ship would never overtake light, yet the distorted region carrying it could cross a large distance faster than light would travel through undisturbed space-time. The
That's just
spacecraft would not
be
move
gay.
faster
I think
along
I
the
need a
road.
little something.
Huh?
It would reshape
Oh, no, I
the
said I think I got a
road
little something too.
but Einstein's equations only describe the geometry. They do not explain how to build it. The original Alcubierre bubble requires negative energy density around its walls. Quantum physics permits limited negative energy effects, but there is no known method for producing and arranging them on spacecraft scale. Earlier calculations found that the walls could be extraordinarily thin, while the total negative energy remained physically unattainable. Recent research has improved the mathematics, but not solved the problem. In 2021, Alexei Bobrik
Time to make
and
some
Gianni
coffee.
Martir showed that some sublight warp configurations could
Gotta
use
start my
positive
live
energy.
streams too online.
They also reduced
Yeah,
the
the
negative
vlog,
energy
though.
requirements of some
Maybe
superluminal
gonna make some funny
designs,
reaction
and
videos.
concluded that a warp shell would still need propulsion. A 2024 model described a constant velocity warp shell, supported by positive energy. Never navigate the universe by building a faster rocket. The real solution may be to stop crossing the distance between
That's
stars and make that distance move around us.
I don't know. In my head, it just doesn't seem right how they say it. Because no matter what, you're an object, and you have to move from here to there. You want to go fast, you have to go faster than the speed of light. Now you're talking about you can go in and put shit behind you and then shit ahead of you to make a balance and then you're there. No, how you, wait a minute. I need to see that. Built in India, not China. They're selling these to Chinese robotics companies. What are they selling?
I am here today in HSR Layout in Bengaluru, and I'm visiting a company called Pinoculon Labs. Basically what they're building are egocentric data capture rigs to train humanoid robots. So I've got one of the founders of the company, Rishabh, here to explain to me how and why you guys are building these systems.
So first let's just go ahead and start recording on these systems. So I just press one button and all your phone will start recording.
Okay.
And so these cameras are called TriNet, coming from the word trimeter, because when you're wearing these cameras you have 3 eyes, so TriNet. And so as you can see, it's a very weird setup with 2 of the cameras under your arms and 1 camera on the head. So the reason for that is the overhead camera can only track your arms, but once your fingers go beneath your palms, it cannot track them. Therefore we have cameras beneath your palms. And the whole kit is called wrist kit, is what we call it.
Why would someone buy a kit like this from you versus from like a Chinese company?
In fact, we are selling these kits and exporting these kits to China because the time synchronization, the motion sensor and the multi-ray synchronization is a little difficult to get to. And we are working with some of the most prominent labs in the US to kind of optimize this hardware to get the best quality of data which can be anything about.
I guess another question though is why would you use a system like this versus like a GoPro or an iPhone strapped to someone's head?
So that is in fact one of the things people generally tend to do with a GoPro and iPhone. But then these rigs are about 200 to 300 grams, much more heavier than a 35 gram system. And because we tires and then you're wearing 300 gram or 200 gram weight on your head and working. In fact, your work will get affected by it and the data then is not what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, really do
How do you
better
guys
get
bring
it.
this on scale?
Till now we have
Oh, no,
sold
just open something I gotta do.
and then we have 1,000 more in the Chicago.
Okay, it looks like you guys are already kind of busy working on that order.
Yes.
Lots of work, and these are in various stages of assembly.
Right, so these are all tested cameras, so we kind of get the components manufactured and then we test them here, test all the components. It goes to 2 rounds of testing, then we assemble those components and ship them out.
Humans have 2 eyes, and that's for our depth perception. This system has 1 eye, but I also would love to see the system that you're working on that has 2
Right,
lenses.
so this is the stereo system which we are working on right now, which has 2 eyes. And it's still a work in progress, but again, we want to keep the light form factor and use of fuse. Because compared to other stereo cameras that are out there, you require a heavy fuse which you have to put in your pocket and power it. And the device itself is really heavy, but we want to keep it as lightweight as what you're wearing and at the same time connect stereo data.
So what's the long-term plan?
So long-term plan is right now this hardware is used to train robots, but then we want this hardware as the eyes of robots themselves. So we are going to the vision stack for robotics. Robots directly use our hardware.
So not just putting it on humans for training robots, but actually putting it into the robots
Into the
themselves.
robots. Yes.
I am here today in HSR Layout in Bengaluru, and I'm visiting a company called Pinoculon Labs. Basically what they're building are egocentric data capture rigs to train humanoid.
Cool. Beyond Feinstein, J.D. Vance tells Jordan we must go beyond Einstein.
talent, so.
Love me. All the pretty girls love me, yeah, they love me. Do you love me? All the pretty girls love me, yeah, they love me. Say you love me. I got 200 million bottom talking money, yeah. Just got off stage and had a threesome with 2 top bitches. I'm in talent and these niggas still in my business. They worry about the beat, I'm worried about getting richer. My bitch is getting colder and my pockets getting thicker.
Yeah, that was alright.
Yeah, it was basic.
Yeah.
You should put more energy on
I
it.
was about to say that. Yeah. Ain't supposed to be in the club, like.
If you figured out a new physics, in the same way that you had an understanding shift from Newtonian physics to Einsteinian physics, if you have a new understanding of physics that allows you to travel much faster than the speed of light, you could just have human beings, either from a different planet, or maybe they went to Mars and started their own civilization, and then that got old, and they're many millions of light years away, but they can move through space and time in a way that is quite literally like divine from our perspective, or space aliens, but they're just human beings.
It could be human beings from the future.
If time travel is possible.
And also, we know that life exists on Earth. So if life exists on Earth, Earth is a planet. There are hundreds of billions of stars that have hundreds of billions of planets. We have no idea how many planets there are in the known universe that could potentially support life. And if these things live on these planets and they live far longer than we have, like if you showed a nuclear bomb to someone from 100 years ago, they would say that's the craziest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Show them a reactor, show them a cell phone,
absolutely.
show them that television.
It was like my dog with the light switch.
Right. Be able to FaceTime someone in New Zealand. Like what is that? What are you doing?
That's right.
Now advance that forward 1 million years. Instead of using propulsion, you are instead manipulating space-time.
That's exactly right. And I've talked with Elon about this. And Elon is obviously a super smart dude, but I've never heard like a super satisfying answer to this. One of the things that worries me, like I want people to stay planetary species. I want us to go to Mars instead of a colony. I love humanity. I want it to continue. The problem with space travel that I've, again, not heard a satisfactory solution to is, when we're outside of the Earth's gravity, our genes, or actually DNA, seems to not function as well when it's not on Earth-style gravity, which makes sense, right? We developed in these conditions with this gravity. So whenever you have someone
Iron Man suit on, get out there in the stars.
Totally jacked up because like literally the cells in their body are starting to like discombobulate in response to a low gravity environment. We need to figure out a solution to that problem. That to me is sort of the most interesting part of space travel, going to Mars, setting up a colony on another planet is, if you set up a colony on Mars, it takes you like 2 years to get there and 2 years to get back or something like that. Right. In that time, you've gone from a functioning adult, healthy, to like dead. If you're in space for 4 years, that part of space travel is very fascinating to me, and I don't know that I've heard any satisfactory solution to it.
I don't think.
I didn't even think about that part.
But if you're talking about manipulating space-time,
niggas might have to FaceTime me from where they are. FaceTime me from Mars.
Essentially contain this environment in exactly the same way it is.
Yeah.
And travel to somewhere else with that environment. So this is the
Niggas
idea.
is up there losing bone density and shit.
I see.
Yeah, I heard that about that before. If you stay up in space too long, because the gravity's off, so your bones start to get out.
That's gonna be crazy.
If you have a new understanding of physics that allows you to travel much faster than the speed of light, you could just have human beings.
How many
from a different planet, or maybe they went to Mars and started their own civilization, and that got old. And
you buy how many
There are many millions of light years away, but they can move through space and time in a way that is quite literally like divine from our perspective.
Because
or space aliens, but they're just human beings.
It could be human beings from the future.
If time travel is possible.
And also, we know that life exists on Earth. So if life exists on Earth, Earth is a planet. There are hundreds of billions of
No, so I said, you up in space, why ain't they replicating gravity? Whoa. I used to think, when they're in the spaceship, they hit a button or something, doom, and then it just, pressurized perfectly. They still up there floating around the whole time. I'm like, yeah, we can't go, we ain't gonna be able to do too much space traveling if they can't get that gravity right.
Scientists just built a nuclear battery that keeps working for thousands of years, only rivaled by the Nokia 3310 for things that will outlast humanity. Researchers out of Northwest Normal University, nothing suspicious about that name, in collaboration with Gansu Technology, unveiled a battery that skipped the lithium sodium drama with the better instead of the battery
smoking like a funnel.
a small block of carbon-14, a radioactive isotope carrying 2 extra neutrons. Around once every nanosecond, a neutron in that block decays into a proton and an electron, firing off the electron with 50,000 electron volts of energy into the semiconductor layer above. This strike destroys electrons in the region of the semiconductor, which shoots the inherent charge across the semiconductor, separate into electron pairs on either side of the device. When connected by a wire, those electrons rush back through the circuit to recombine with the holes they left behind and provide electrical power. Essentially,
you always gotta recombine with the holes we left behind.
Decay events are random, and over half of them send beta particles in the wrong direction, away from the semiconductor layer, wasting battery power. To optimize the system, the research team reduced the thickness of the carbon-14 layers and switched the semiconductor to silicon carbide, which has a large band gap and so can absorb the majority of energy from the radiating electrons. Then they stacked multiple of these systems together into an isotope sandwich, so no beta particles were left behind. Against their 2024 prototype, this version uses just 22% of the radioactive material, but it delivers 2.6 times more power, or being just 17% of the original volume. That is roughly a 15-fold jump in power density. This, however, is no nuclear powerhouse. It has a maximum output of just 1.13 microwatts, which is just about enough to keep the second hand ticking on a quartz watch. So this isn't a phone battery, and no one is claiming that it is to places that you can't easily send AAA replacements. String a few of them together and you can power deep space communication relays, deep sea sensors, or even pacemakers. And because carbon-14 is carbide and been alive for years, this should keep ticking long after leaving. Giving out science and isotopes that do data dead, but now power living. Scientists just built a nuclear battery that keeps...
They made a battery that works for 5,000 years. That was crazy.
Researchers out of
5,000 years?
Yep.
In collaboration with Gansu Technology, have unveiled a battery that skipped the lithium versus sodium drama altogether and is instead powered by radioactivity. The
Radioactivity.
layer of semiconductors a small block of carbon.
The niggas is getting dangerous though.
Yeah.
You trying to get niggas going.
It's a very little battery though.
Oh,
He said you string them together. But still, that's crazy.
Into the semiconductor layer above.
You can get one of them 5,000 batteries for my cell phone. Never have to charge it again. What Lil Durk doing? Lil Durk can never go broke.
Lil Durk made sure he'd never be broke. Here's why. After King Von died, Lil Durk was scared of rapping and started a trucking company quietly behind the scenes. While most rappers waste their money on cars and jewelry, Durk did something unique. It's called asking about trucking. No concerts, no albums, just trucks on the road, inspired by stars like Jay-Z and Diddy, building his wealth outside of music. Then there's Jay-Z, the blueprint for flipping rap money into real wealth. From luxury champagne to cognac and massive exits like selling title to Jack Dorsey's blog, Jay-Z shows how leveraging brand and ownership builds billionaire status. Dr. Dre is another who turned creativity into a corporate juggernaut. The iconic producer co-founded Beats Electronics, redefining premium headphones, and sold it to Apple.
I'm on coffee ready for the day, right? Just about the day with a mug coffee, yeah?
Followed a similar playbook but remixed it his way before his recent controversy took him down. By turning Ciroc vodka from a little-known brand into a global force, and later expanding into De Leon tequila and fashion ventures like Sean John, he showed that marketing genius pays off far beyond the charts. 50 Cent also didn't stick to just rhymes and beats. His early equity bet in vitamin water paid out around $100 million when Coca-Cola bought the company, and he's since built a media empire with power and BMF. With one move, Fifth turned shrewd timing into lifetime wealth. Then there's Nas, the quiet investor who plays the long game. Through his Queensbridge Venture Partners fund, he backed early winners like Ring and Coinbase years before their billion-dollar exits. Rick Ross hustled his way off wax and into wings. With over 24 Wingstop franchises, he turned his love of lemon Pepper into recurring cash flow and proved you can feed both fans and families at the same time. Snoop Dogg is another who diversified his way into mogul territory between co-founding Casa Verde Capital, a major cannabis investment fund, and owning pieces of tech and entertainment ventures. Snoop's portfolio is as wide as his influence. Drake, meanwhile, mixes investments like he mixes genres. Taking a stake in Dave's Hot Chicken paid off big as the brand exploded nationally, and his role in esports giant 100 Thieves keeps him intertwined with the digital generation. Flo Rida made his fortune not through new hits, but through the courtroom. His $82 million win against Celsius Energy Drink reminded everyone that knowing your contracts matters as much as knowing your bars. Killer Mike took his activism and turned it into economic action. As co-founder of Greenwood Bank, a digital platform serving Black and Latino communities, he's addressing generational wealth gaps head-on. Bun B turned food festivals into a full-fledged business. His Houston-based Trill Burgers restaurant exploded after winning Good Morning America's Best Burger in America title. What started as a pop-up became one of Texas's buzziest eateries. Lil Durk made sure he'd never be broke. Here's why. After King Von died.
The hardest part about building a robot was never the arms, it's the part that knows how to use them. This week, NVIDIA and Hugging Face put that part into an open library. Two different pieces. One is a model called Isaac Brute 1.7. It takes what a camera sees, plus an instruction in plain English, and turns it into motion. The second piece is a framework called Isaac Teleop, which is how you record a human doing a task so a robot can learn from it. Both are free. Anyone can adapt the model to their own machine. Here's the plumbing, and the plumbing itself is the story. Language models had the entire internet to learn from. Robots never had anything like that. Every lab collects its own demonstrations in its own format, and none of that knowledge stacks on top of each other because it's all proprietary. The open data set that ships alongside this has been downloaded 15 million times, 350,000 trajectories. 57 million recorded grasps. That's the closest thing this field has ever had to a shared starting line. And previously, data is where the money actually went, not the motors. A human in a rig teleoperating an arm doing the same task 100 times so the robot can learn it once. That's the line item that kills small robotics companies. Now a startup can begin from someone else's 350,000 trajectories instead of its own zero. Okay, two things to keep in mind. First, the fine print. NVIDIA is calling this the first open, commercially viable robot foundation model. It's version 1.7. Nothing that's a 1.7 gets to be a first, and 1.7 replaces 1.5 inside the library, where 1.5 is now unsupported. So it's open, and it's also a model you upgrade when NVIDIA says to upgrade. Nobody outside the company has published independent benchmarks on real hardware yet either, until somebody does. Improved performance is a claim, not a measurable result. Second, this isn't charity. Groot runs best on NVIDIA silicon. It's already wired into NVIDIA's Jetson hardware inside the open humanoids on that platform. The model's free, the chip is not. And one more interesting perspective, if the brain of a robot becomes a free download, the value moves to the body of the robot. Motors, actuators, gearboxes, sensors, battery packs, manufacturing. America's lead in robotics has been in the software. This week, America's biggest chip company handed that software to 3 million robotics developers and 16 million AI builders worldwide, no restrictions. Open sourcing the layer you're winning at is only smart if you also own the layer underneath. On robot hardware, we don't. So nothing a robot can physically do changed this week. What changed is who gets to build one and where they'll get the stuff that gives them a head start. Sources are in the description. Like, follow, and subscribe for more AI and robotics content. The part about building a robot was never the arms, it's the part that knows how to use them. This week, NVIDIA and Hugging Face put that part into an open library. Two different pieces. One is a model called Isaac Brute 1.7. It takes what a camera sees, plus an instruction in plain English, and turns it into motion. The second piece is a framework called Isaac Teleop, which is how you record a human doing a task so a robot can learn from it. Both are free. Anyone can adapt the model to their own machine. Here's the plumbing, and the plumbing itself is the story. Language models had the entire internet to learn from. Robots never had anything like that. Every lab collects its own demonstrations in its own format, and none of that knowledge stacks on top of each other because it's all proprietary. The open data set that ships alongside this has been downloaded 15 million times, 350,000 trajectories.
What's up, YouTube? Back in the middle of the video today, I got an exciting
Desert Eagle.
Let's look at my new Desert Eagle. Before we get into this video, I just wanted to be known I've been hunting a Desert Eagle for a really long time, and I've been hunting a specific model. Me being born in the late 80s, raised in the 90s, and early 2000s as a youngin', the Desert Eagle has always been something special to me. Anybody raised in that era, I believe it's special for y'all too. And there ain't no better Desert Eagle than the 50 AE. And if you look right here on the original box, there it is, marked 50 AE. This box right here is all the way back from 1993. That's when this pistol was produced. And here it goes right here. Look at this. What a beautiful example of a Desert Eagle. This right here is Israeli made, as I said, from 1993. And it has the Israeli made IMI ammunition right there. As you see, the Samson ammunition. And it is full. I have the takedown tool, a spare magazine, and of course the pistol. Let's get out and look at it. Here is my Desert Eagle, Israeli made, chambered in 50 AE. Man, this thing is massive. It's 4.5 pounds, Papa. Look at this thing. Look on the slide. I want y'all to be able to read it. Good God. Oh, well, look at this thing. Man, this thing's huge. I love it though, man. This thing is a real old hand cannon, by God. This, of course, is the black finish, and you see it has the little weaver cuts up there for a scope mount, in case you want to mount a scope. This is, again, from the early 90s. Now, one thing about this gun, it is a collector's piece. The guy I got it from actually owned another one. He owned a stainless steel 357. He had actually shot the 357, but he had never fired this one right here. He bought it brand new and had been in the box ever since. Because Desert Eagles like this actually fetch a higher price to collectors. Because it is, as I said, Israeli made. They are the original creators, and a lot of people think that they have better quality and better triggers in this model. Therefore, making the Israeli models a little bit more sought after than the Magnum Research American made. I've only ever fired one other Desert Eagle in my whole life. It was black just like this one, but it was chambered in 357. And that ain't no Desert Eagle. This right here is the 50 AE. That's a 300 grain jacketed hollow point, by God. And let me tell you something.
That's a big bullet.
If you look right here, it actually has a bolt similar to your AR-15, and on top of that it says 44 Magnum. That's because this bolt right here will work in 44 Magnum and in the 50 AE. All I'd have to do is change out barrels. And I don't know if you can see inside the barrel or not.
Yeah.
But it has a polygonal rifling in there. Help with the pressure and get the round out. So let me know down in the comments, would you keep this Desert Eagle put up as a collector's piece and buy another one to shoot? Or would you blast this bad boy just like it was meant to be? Let me know down in the comments, and also I have a poll up right now where I have different grips
that
on this
bad
gun,
boy to
because I'm trying to decide if I want to leave it black or put a different grip on there. Go to that poll and let me know which grip is your favorite. Thanks again for watching this. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and maybe on the next video, we'll be shooting this big 50, by God. What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? Hold up, that look. Oh. Sun just shut down the large Hadron holiday. And you aren't going to believe why.
Surgeons shut off the Large Hadron Collider. That's the machine responsible for finding the God particle. It's also the machine that people across the internet blame for the Mandela effect. So are we getting back Berenstein Bears and Shazam this year? First, let me explain what's actually going on. I'm Giga Chen, and I want to wish you a happy 4th of July. Engineers have officially shut down the Large Hadron Collider, launching a 4-year pause for them to rip it apart and give it the biggest upgrade in history. People across the internet are joking that our timeline is finally locked in. Some are even saying they've noticed a difference, but the reality is some of the world's greatest physicists are building a beast for 2030. About 10 times more particle collisions per second, so why would they do that? Millions more Higgs bosons. That's that God particle I mentioned. They're doing all of this because they're hunting dark matter. We know it exists, but we've never caught it. Buckle up, I'm about to explain. A hadron is a subatomic particle made up of quarks held together by strong force. Their composite structure is divided into 2 types. You have baryons made of 3 quarks and mesons made of 2. The Large Hadron Collider exclusively uses baryons, specifically protons, and also sometimes lead nuclei. They use these because they're stable, they're positively charged, a few other reasons, but it all leads us to one thing: they can smash them. The first reason they smash them is to break the glue. Remember, quarks are bound by strong force. That's actually its formal name. It's the strongest force in nature. Yes, there are other specific names, but basically you can't pull a quark out. You have to shatter the proton to see what's inside. The second reason is to create new particles out of the energy of the collision, like the Higgs boson. My E equals MC squared friends know what I'm talking about. The third reason is to recreate the Big Bang. At least those conditions for a very, very tiny amount of time. Why would they do that? Because it's how you unveil the Higgs boson. It's an elementary particle that acts as the physical manifestation of the Higgs field. We're talking about an invisible energy field that gives mass to fundamental particles, not AI. So the Higgs boson gives mass. We know that dark matter has mass. The answer could be in what people refer to as the Higgs portal. That was a lot, so enjoy the break, because the high luminosity Large Hadron Collider is coming.
Yeah, that was a lot. What?
You said something that I thought was very odd. You said that you thought that they were demons.
Okay, I did say that.
What did you mean by that?
First of all, there are not just in Christianity, but in a number of world religions, there are a number of mystical things that happened, extra-dimensional. I'm not one of these people who's like a hyper-rationalist. I think that there are things happening in the world that we're not always seeing. You know, I believe in God. I think that there is a kind of supernatural. There are supernatural things that happen. If you look historically, things that are similar to the alien phenomenon, where, some like strange being, it kind of looks like a human being, but doesn't look like, that's not human, shows a particular interest in human beings, and then it takes the human beings and does weird experiments on them. I think my argument is that's either bullshit, right? You're either talking to a crazy person, which I don't, like, I'm not saying just because I believe in the supernatural doesn't mean I believe in everything supernatural, but if we're talking about an extraterrestrial being that is human-like but not human, that contains effectively infinite powers and is torturing human beings, you can call it an alien if you want, but I think there's a lot of historical precedent to call that a demon.
A lot of these stories and these accounts.
Demonic Coaster.
Yeah, that's the mothership logo. A lot of these accounts are not people being tortured. They're people that are being exposed to information, like the Travis Walton story is a very famous case.
My response to that would be extra powerful beings, in this case communicating telepathically, helping people. Sounds like an angel. Let me make it like the Steelman version of my argument. It's that my dog, there's no real difference between me and God. To my dog, I can literally walk into a room and turn the light on. I can make food appear instantaneously. I can transport myself across time and space very, very rapidly. If you're a human being with intelligence, but not supernatural intelligence, let's call me fake, that's a possibility. But if it's real, is there really a meaningful difference between an angel or a demon and a space alien with super technology? Just to our perception, they would largely just look like the same thing.
I think we're capable of nuance. We're capable of understanding that human beings are far more complex and evolved than chimpanzees. We can imagine a world where if we don't blow ourselves up and there's not a nuclear bomb and we don't get hit by an asteroid, if we live another 1,000,000 years, that we would have technology that's indistinguishable from magic, right?
Exactly. That's right. That's exactly what I'm saying. I mean, we can show up
angels and demons. It just means they're hyper-evolved, advanced civilizations from somewhere else.
And what I'm saying is the perception of those beings to a more simple intelligence, there's not a meaningful difference.
You said something that I thought was very odd. You said that you thought that they were demons.
countless times. I survived over and over again. I fought again. And then lost. And lost and lost and lost. And lost and lost and lost and lost and won. And lost and lost and lost and lost and lost and won. And lost and
Oh, cut off. Let's continue.
Nope, so it's time for first nap.
Mm-hmm.